many, comedy is a form of escapism from tragedy. And after LA's devastating wildfires, the Laugh Factory used its platform to help LA firefighters. In this week's Java with Jamie, I got to sit down with President David Fuhrer to talk about how the Hollywood institution's legacy of philanthropy is now intersecting with new needs in the community. So what do you do when you're in a bad mood?
I come here.
Having coffee on the iconic Laugh Factory stage.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you for having Java with Jamie.
It's hard to believe what the club went through just last month. When the Sunset Fire reached Hollywood Boulevard, the Laugh Factory canceled its shows. But it stayed open for firefighters who had started gathering outside the comedy club's location on Sunset Boulevard.
We decided we were going to open the doors and let them use the facility. So for whatever purpose they needed, we served them food and drink, and we opened up our restrooms, obviously, and it was a place that they could gather.
It became a community.
Yeah, so we always think of this place as a community center.
Last year, David Fuhrer became president of the Laugh Factory. After evacuation orders lifted, he made the decision to open the club to shows the following weekend, where all the proceeds were donated to the Los Angeles Fire Foundation.
How important is it for people to have a good laugh?
You know, I think it's of vital importance. We don't want to ignore the stress and the fear and the pain that people are feeling. It's a very difficult time. But at the same time, we look at this as a place that could be a beacon of hope and laughter for people.
It's what the club was founded on by owner Jamie Masada.
We feed them the food.
Who gives thousands of meals out to the less fortunate at Thanksgiving and Christmas. A tradition of philanthropy Fuhrer hopes to expand.
Why is service so important to you and to the Laugh Factory?
I've always been what I call the smile business. I wanted to carry on that legacy that Jamie started. It's something that, I feel very blessed to be able to do.
That smile business started when Fuhrer was just a kid growing up in New York.
I had this very unusual ability to speak backwards. And what that means is I could hear any word or sentence and instantly I can say it backwards.
Really?
The way it's spelled.
Can you still do that?
I can still do it.
Okay, let's see. What phrase? Thank you for all you've done for the firefighters.
Knadawai raf la uwai inad rafet sratig irif.
How did you know you had this in you?
Well, I just, as a kid, I would read street signs backwards. I would call my friends by their names backwards. And it was kind of a ridiculous, and I like to say a useless ability. But when I went to summer camp, I joined a talent show, and I sang a song backwards and took words from the audience, and people were amazed.
That led to an appearance on The David Letterman Show, The Tonight Show, Ellen DeGeneres, and more.
Yes, so I have a Guinness World Record.
And what is it for? Backwards
for doing
talking.
The entire Queen's album backwards.
That's amazing. Can you still do it?
I'd have to look at it. It's thousands of words, yeah.
So this was in 1989.
1989, yeah.
And then here's good old Johnny Carson. How old were you in this photo?
I was 25 years old with my mullet.
It's a good-looking mullet, though.
And that was just a great moment.
That moment led him to Hollywood, but instead of pursuing the entertainment industry, his brother opened up his mind to toys, where the first game he created was based on his unusual talent.
This was my very first toy. It was the backwards game, and it was a game where players would hear a word backwards with a clue, and then they would have to shout out the answer forward. So I'll give you an example.
Okay.
It's a 6-letter fruit that begins with B, a nanab.
Banana.
Banana.
I got it.
She's pretty good at this. She's very good.
That was a good clue.
Fuhrer has now gone on to create 300 toys. He brought a few of his favorites to the comedy club.
What do you love about creating toys?
It's so entrepreneurial. It's so much fun. Again, just like comedy, I'm doing something that makes people smile. It creates relationships between people.
The hits? Aquadoodle, Twisty Pets, and the Nerf Vortex football.
That was the first prototype.
This was the first one that came to market, and this is a football that's now called the Nerf Vortex, and you can throw it farther than any football in the world.
Now, that entrepreneurial spirit is being tapped into at the Laugh Factory, where Fuhrer has big plans for the comedy brand, including adding a new upstairs bar and VIP lounge.
Well, we're going to keep the DNA of the place, but I want it just to be a little more comfortable. It's so tired. We're putting in new curtains, and we're going to reupholster and just fix it up.
It's like a facelift. It's like a Hollywood facelift.
Yeah, Hollywood facelift.
I mean, that's what you do in this town, right? Because it's been here since 1979.
1979. We're having our 45th anniversary.
So, 45, you start doing a little work to the face. That's fine.
Old friends with new faces.
What you say, Joe?
He also wants to launch additional clubs in Chicago, Long Beach, San Diego, Las Vegas, and Reno, Nevada, as well as work to heighten the club's social media presence and YouTube page. If that wasn't enough, they've also launched the Laugh Factory production company.
We're about to start shooting our first feature film called Toad, which will go into production in March. So we're trying to create an ecosystem for comedians where they don't just come up on the stage and we like to say hit it and quit it and go down the street to our competitors, but that there's an opportunity for them to participate in all of the entertainment that we're creating.
Creation, imagination, and trusting his gut is what Fuhrer says led him to his Acorn moment of landing the president title at the Laugh Factory.
And what does that mean?
An acorn moment is something that might seem small at the time, but it grows into a giant oak tree. Maybe it's meeting your spouse, maybe it's meeting, your boss, or some life decision that seems small and insignificant, but leads us down a whole new path.
I love that idea. And I love that his acorn moment was that he met the owner, Jamie Masada. They were out hiking together. The two of them became hiking buddies. And then David says for months he would give Jamie all this advice of what he should be doing with the club. And finally one day he just went, "Can you just come be president? Come do it."
This is just amazing in every way. But that talent is like the best talent I've ever seen in my life.
It was the fact that he could just do it on the spot like that is pretty impressive.
Harness that into something amazing like this. Just fabulous. It was so good to meet him.
Like he said, he's been in the smile business now his entire life, which I loved. I just loved him. It was fantastic.
Yeah, that was really great. And great that they're doing so much for the community too.
Yes.